Welcome to Dojo Earth Radio. See you in 3 minutes.
In a city full of sounds, I know my way around. We are of the same kind. Endangered species hard to find. I'll give you some lone time. I need to go catch a high tide, 'cause I don't feel free. So I'm letting you know where I want to be. Driving by the shore, listening to a broken radio. Skyline neon lights are waking up the rangers of the night. Designated life. Feel the cold wind on my face. It's all around but leaves no trace. This is where I wanna be. I'm skipping stones into the sea. I'll give you some lone time. I need to go catch a high tide, 'cause I don't feel free. So I'm letting you know where I want to be. Driving by the shore, listening to a broken radio. Skyline neon lights are waking up the rangers of the night. Designated life. Driving by the shore. Skyline neon lights. Designated life.
Retrocausality.
We are live, people. Welcome to Dojo Earth Radio. Thank you for your patience. The green room is greeny as can be. It's hot in here. There's like all kinds of cool things being dropped. Retrocausally, which is even more confusing because they're laughing before things are said. I don't know how you guys pull this off, but welcome, everyone. Welcome to Dojo Earth Radio. It's Saturday Night Ride time. We've got a lovely, lovely house here. We're going to do a little roll call here. We don't have an official co-pilot. I think there's sort of like a co-pilot committee, I guess, tonight, which is just fine with me. Yesenia, let's call you the co-pilot. Actually, I think Yesenia was probably in the driver's seat first.
I'm going to second that. After all those magnificently swapped decks, I mean,
Yeah, I got promoted tonight.
You're here.
right?
Yeah.
All right.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, there it goes.
Go.
Here we go. I'm now releasing the couple. I'm decoupling the steering. All right, Yesenia, you are now driving the show. So good to have you here. You've given us a great topic. Before we introduce people, do you want to just quickly tell people what it is we may or may not be heading for? What our destination could be, topic-wise?
We are going to be discussing retrocausality and how we can become time travelers.
Okay, this is going to be good. Some of you already know it. Some of you already know what's going on. I see we have Lori. Lori, hello, are you there?
I'm here.
Lori's checking in from out west right now. You're in travel
Abiquiu,
mode.
New Mexico,
Right
the
on.
land of Ghost Ranch.
Excellent.
Ooh.
Yeah, then we got Brad. You there, Brad?
I'm here, and in honor of tonight's topic, I've got all my retro duds on too. I'm dressed like the '80s, baby. Poppin'.
Right on. Shagadelic. I love it. Annie,
You were committing.
Annie, are you there?
I'm here in the present. I'm present in the past.
Oh, look at that. She showed up in the present. That's hard to do, guys. That is hard to do.
Takes
Renee,
talent.
the wonderful Renee, how are you, my friend? My beautiful
Oh,
friend.
hello, everyone. I'm just observing the sun setting in my part of the woods. You guys have already had it go down, so
Yeah, we don't want to give it away.
Right there, we're
Yeah.
in different places in time, right?
Yeah, we don't want to give it away. We don't want to spoil what happens. But some of us already know what's going to happen, Renee, with the whole sunset thing.
Well, every night I wonder about it.
Well,
I
that's the
wonder.
beauty. That's right.
Well, hello, everyone. Hi.
Hello. And Deb, are you there?
I'm here.
Fabulous. How are you doing, Deb?
Not too bad.
Well, good. We also have two more mystery guests. I'm calling mystery because they're muted, which is just fine with me. But if they do, oh, look at that. Cameron, you there? Good day, sir.
Cameron is here on board and I'm looking forward to the ride.
Excellent.
Glad to be here.
It's great to have you, Cameron. Yeah, really. We missed Cameron because I haven't been doing a dojo the last 2 Fridays, but all is well. We are things are going pretty good. Things are just a little bit different, and we have one more who might have peeked off you, which is Sean. I think it's the Sean I know. Sean, are you there?
I'm here.
Is this the
Sitting
Sean?
here out here in
Yes, it
Crescent Beach, BC.
Oh,
Near
excellent.
the ocean, actually.
Right on. Well, good to have you. We have a crew of 9 tonight, and we are good to go. We're high flying already. We've already got a hot topic, which is the whole concept of retrocausality, which is I don't even know where to start over here because I think the best way to do is to finish. So I don't know where to finish on this, but but I have said before, so I'll just throw this out, that I do think that our mind would be addicted to viewing time in a forward-moving way because of causality giving us so much torque, because it makes things a little bit predictable. And so us sitting in a state where we only see time as a river flowing in a certain direction has brain chemical reasons for only looking at it in one way and completely ignoring that it would work the other way, that there are safety nets in not looking at it as being retrocausal and safety nets in looking at it as causal. That both those things are, in my mind, no pun intended, forcing us into a kind of mind control to look at time in the way we see it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's hard to do.
Yeah, I ran into this topic on TikTok. So I'm just doom scrolling one night, and this artist was painting, and the most salacious thing came out of his mouth. And he said that in a other timeline, he remembers being he remembers being talked to by some Hollywood agents and being famous. And he says that he was famous in another timeline, and all of that was retrocausality. Which, if that's true or not, that's between him and God. But he said retrocausality, and I was hooked. So then I just started jumping into like little articles here and there. There's one by Stanford University, and I couldn't have enough of it. And my birthday was right around the corner, and then as I wrote, I felt myself reach back to my 20-year-old self, and I see how every year I do look back. I look back and I feel the skin that I've shedded of the year before. So how is retrocausality not real?
Mm-hmm. Well, I loved your article on this, by the way. I encourage people to check it out. It was a really good read on this. Mm-hmm. That captured that well. Brad, I think you're getting ready to say something.
Well, the to me, the aspect of, and this is why I think artists, if you will, have a great sort of insight into this, because if you've ever, whatever medium you apply in or trade in, it's like when you create something, I think a lot of artists know about the flow state, right? And a lot of times you get in the flow state and you're creating something and you're not always consciously aware of, the depths or the levels that could be there. So you're creating from a space where you're just kind of letting go and creating. And the aspect of when time passes and you can look back at something you created and see it in a different lens is evidence of the whole aspect of retrocausality, because we all heard in art where the art is interpreted by the observer, right? The artist can create, but it can be interpreted many ways by the audience, right? And that's where the magic is. But when you're talking about the artists themselves creating a work, and them seeing it after the fact and looking back at it and
Right.
seeing levels in there that they did not consciously put in there.
Yep.
How is that not complete sort of for the artist creating it? How does that not reinforce to you individually that there's some aspect of this going on that you don't even know necessarily what you're creating, and it makes you question whether or not this future aspect of yourself, who understands it now in a different way, could have been influencing what you were creating then.
Yeah.
And that's just such a
Absolutely.
fascinating aspect.
If you think
I
about
love
like,
collage for that reason, because you have all these different pieces, and I just put them in a box and pull out pieces. And I like this one. This one appeals to me right now. This one appeals to me right now. And putting them all together creates a mirror.
yeah. If you think about how neurons find each other, you know, maybe you've seen video of that, but it's this electrical storm inside this one neuron, and you can almost anthropomorphize it. Not almost, you just do. And you see this striving, this blind striving, this inspiration strikes, and something reaches out into the complete darkness, wastes all of its energy into a very specific direction because it has this intuitive sense that this is where it is. And that intuitive sense is probably more bioelectrical than we're even aware, that the intuition is ripping through time while you're stuck in the present, which means that if you wanted to look at what all art truly is, it is time ripping. That you experience an inspiration because you're able to spark gap your way into the future and see something that's created in your mind before it's there. And the motivation of that dreaming is the very force that you need to reach out that far and make that connection. So the balance between creativity and time jumping is more linked than we could possibly imagine, right? Because it's our own passion itself is the thing that's ripping the time, which maybe is why when you get into the creative state, all time disappears. I can't really think of, we can talk about music if we want. We could argue differently. However, I do think that when you're inside that creative spirit, time itself disappears because you're no longer limited to that sort of scope or that kind of like hardware, right? To be strapped onto your head.
It's interesting with Yesenia finding something on TikTok, and that's like the clock, TikTok. And then like deja vu, like when you're into this, like you go down the rabbit hole, like, the rabbit's holding the clock.
Yep.
It's like, so it's kind of like thinking that when you get into that creative flow state, I'll create things that nobody gets for like years in advance. I don't know what I make,
All right. I think
including yourself, right?
Yeah, right.
Guys, I just muted everybody because I was trying to figure out where that sound was coming from. I think it might have been Lori. But there's something that was distracting in the background there. So just an FYI.
Hey, may I invoke a few images that have been inspired by these things that have been,
of course,
brought up by Yesenia?
Yes,
Actually,
yes.
I think the tree. You mentioned time ripping. I think the tree, or the brush, or most of these plant-like creatures are the perfect emblem of the time rip. And I think it's this. We see in the tree this tension between the continuous time lapse, which I think people have rightfully flattened into, like, a flattened circle, and then the continual time span, which is that linear time that we all seem prone to think about, that Yesenia is realizing time is not, which is a continual time span, something I would think is akin to like a line moving forever in two directions. I just, I don't know, as you guys are talking about this, and I spend a lot of time thinking of trees, and I see, when I see a tree, that's what I see. I see this tension that's pursuing life's elements, and the form it takes as that pursuit takes place.
Yeah.
And to see these two work in tandem is wonderful, and I certainly am excited by what Yesenia is discovering as she's working with this new term, retrocausality.
Well, in that space, Cameron, like, for example, would the tree know what the seed knew? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm saying that somewhat rhetorically in the fact that obviously the seed contains all the information for the tree, and the tree knows it is the seed. But just from that context, could the tree imagine that all of it was contained in that seed?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. You could look at it like the tree is the entire organism. And the only reason why it's able to even be a seed is because it does have connection. It's quantumly entangled to the future of what it's supposed to look like. And that it's because of that is the only reason why it's even able to decode itself. So think about time as more of like, this is the only way you can see things. Like seriously, like if you really wanted to open a file, you can't just have a desktop. You need a time top, right? You need a space that you can open this file on, and it's not a sheet of paper. It's a sheet of time. And so we are looking at things through a causal lens because that's all we've ever done. We have to extrapolate and hypotheticalize. All these are imaginary forces, imaginary abilities that we develop through the use of magic. So the causality is bleeded into all the evidence, and we're so close to it, we've yet to really unpeel that and to look at what's actually there. Because what's actually there is the seed and the dying branches of the end of that tree all together at the same time. It's all exactly that thing.
Wow.
Right.
You know, to call out Cameron, I read Appellation today, your piece that you dropped, and what stood out to me was captured crystalline lurkers who prowl behind every sinistral facet. And it reminded me of how, you know, your crystalline lurkers could be timelines that are always watching us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And each decision doesn't really erase us. It lingers.
Yeah.
They prowl and even send shadows backwards to influence what we think was was the past.
That's so beautiful. You could even think, if I stepped on you, sorry a sec, but this, if you think about the shame, meaning the fear of what would happen to you if you grew into this shape versus this shape, right? That the tree has an intrinsic idea the entire time of that tension you guys are talking about of, look, this is the only way I'm going to be able to pull this off, is that my branches have to be here, my bark has to be here. And anytime I try and grow outside of itself, I feel what you and I, humans, would call intuition, right? The heebie-jeebies about it. But what they would feel is much more vibrationally, this is wrong, this is right, right? So it moves itself into that thing, and that's actually what makes a maple tree. It's the collective time-ripping fear that it predicts by not doing exactly this, right? It's a simulation of what would be my perfect form when I'm embedded into this time desktop. This is the only shape that's going to make it here, or this is the perfection of who I am by forming these crystals in this way, so to speak.
Yeah, like what if God went back in time and birthed himself or itself, and that's what we call the Big Bang?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
mean, there would
he snorted
there would have
himself.
to be that connection there.
He turned himself into just giant lines of some sort of psychoactive drug, and he snorted himself, and he literally inhaled this place into existence, right? Like literally, like that's literally what he did. I was thinking about this today. It's like a giant bong hit. The whole cosmos is just a bong hit of let's smoke ourselves, right? Let's turn ourselves into the finest crystals, and let's inhale those with amnesia. Let's inhale those things and taste ourselves for the very first time all over again. Do you guys realize how fucking clever this is? As a magician, for you to go, you know what? I really want to enjoy breath, so I'm going to fucking forget. Every time I breathe, I'm going to have to remember all this again. It's going to be awesome. It's like being able to watch Groundhog Day, and then as soon as the movie's over, you get to erase yourself and watch it again. Like this is profound because you're watching a movie about a repetition, but you don't actually know that you reset yourself before you watch the movie about repetition, right? It's like that.
The only nightmare would be his 51st dates, the one that remembers the date and the other one that doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's like better to be the one that doesn't remember.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah, I would say this is the key to the entire universe is amnesia. And what a powerful form of magic that is. I'm still wondering how we pulled that off. If you think about it, that's pretty astounding. The magic of zero, is kind of what that is. It's discovering that there was a zero and then forcing it is the magic of amnesia. It's pretty potent stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. As a creative, I think that amnesia is the key to being able to unfix ourselves. And yeah, it's an amazing gift.
Yeah.
Well, then
It opens up
deja
new
vu,
avenues. Yeah.
deja vu would be us remembering that it's all happening at once.
Mm-hmm. No,
It's
you're
like
talking-
it's like the snake eating its tail and letting go of its tail, and then eating its tail and letting go.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because now it's not only Quetzalcoatl eating itself, it's the Rastafarian smoking itself too. So however many metaphors we can come up with, God digesting itself in the multitude of ways it can.
Yeah. The Big Bang really does hit that bong analogy pretty well,
It really does.
Like it really does. Yeah, because the
I like-
forever expansion even makes sense in so many different ways too.
I like that term, unfixing itself, Cameron. Could you go into that a little bit deeper?
Well, yeah, as far as amnesia, working at, since I was a kid, I always had a hard time doing what I felt others had done before me. But also as a kid, I was ignorant to the fact that everything had been done before already. And so as I got older and wiser, I became slightly disillusioned about that fact, and it almost stymied my willingness to get back on the creative horse. And it also helped me to appreciate my own amnesia and my own ability to forget, and how it allowed me to pursue things like they were new every day.
Yeah.
And also with the routine. And when I say unfixed, I mean unsettled almost, or to put motion back into something that's stiff.
Like the unpetrified.
Yes, unpetrified. Yeah, to pull a nail out. It's
and that's the beautiful
that's
force. Whatever's moving you to become unpetrified is that force moving you to move and see it anew. And I would say that's attached to the idea of the amnesia of it, is the fact that that's what makes it exciting, is letting go and discovering it again for the first time, and doing it from those eyes as if you're not cynical and you know everything, right?
Yeah.
And to take the trip and appreciate it for what it is, and that's what I think that the real sort of subtle magic about the forgetting is how necessary that is to appreciate on that level, because cynicism is at the other side of that. Cynicism says, go ahead.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, even setting cynicism aside, which I don't mean to, except for I say unfixed with this place in the mercy seat that James has envisioned for a Luciferian type figure, and how knowing all is the end, and how the amnesia could unfix that.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah.
Can't you see how?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Can't you see how it's a dead end, guys? Like if you think about that, that Lucifer role, that perfection role of remembering it all, it's what gave me that idea of mystery being this virgin spirit, and how crucial that was.
That's the only place to play, because if you get into that Luciferian sense, like you're saying, James, where it's all known, and I wasn't painting that on you, Cameron, but that's just what I'm saying, where that cynicism lies is, I know everything.
I was getting ready to say that. Yeah, exactly, Brad. That if you think about, the source of cynicism is knowing all things, and the source of inspiration is not knowing all things. So
it would be so boring being God to know all things.
It is.
Like
especially
boring.
if you're trapped. Yeah, especially if you're trapped in time. Holy fuck.
Absolutely. Well, Brad had mentioned a question about the seed, and James covered it beautifully in talking about time and a plane of time that you need as a memory space as well. I like to say space is time impoverished, which is a poetic leap.
Wow.
From space is without time, which is another leap from time is within space. I think the seed
slower.
I was getting ready to say that. You need to slow your roll, Cameron. We can't snort all this, man. You got to slow your roll.
Slow down. Go slow.
Well, I just space is time impoverished, I like to say.
Yeah.
Which is to say space is without time.
Yeah.
Which is to say time is within space. But within would be almost like from my perspective, behind my eyes, it's that thing that knows that things were different before they are than they are now, and that they'll be different later.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah, and this
It's
would
profound.
imbue our sense of I'm in the wrong place or I'm in the right place, wouldn't it? If we could see beyond the veil, but not tell ourselves that we could see beyond the veil. I think that this happens. I'm not trying to say that I think we could see it all, although we could discuss that. I'm just saying this isn't how I look at it. I think that I can see maybe like 4 minutes ahead, but I would never tell myself that. And I would never tell myself that because I started to notice how much I would deteriorate in the mundanity. Something that used to kill me growing up is being put in a position where the mundane is too much, and it starts to choke you out. And you can literally feel your brain cells starting to atrophy because you're being told, drink more gray, eat more gray, like be more gray, and you feel that. And so that tension, that fear would shape me probably more than anything else. If you were to like ask me honestly, it's probably that. So the shape of my tree is really more built on the fact that there's no other way that I could survive this time pixeling, which is what's happening, right? Where the quantum collapse is what you call now. And every single thing that is beyond the veil of now is still in the quantum, and everything behind the veil has been collapsed. It's measurable. It's no longer a wave. It's a particle. Everything is precisely set down. These are the two fundamental differences between the veil of time. That one's a wave and one's a particle. Now I'm telling you, this is how we see it. I didn't say that's how it was. You understand? I'm saying this is how we see it, that we use our scan lines and we scan over our environment through this time desktop, and that we need that collapsed veil of the quantum to literally distinguish what we thought we were going to see versus what we saw. And that if we didn't have that constant veil collapsing, we would never even be able to use time as a tangible measure of anything at all. It would be kind of like a fish focused on trying to focus on one little tiny part of water and like track that one little molecule that's inside this one thing. It there's nothing tangible to attach it to, so it becomes pointless to even look at life that way. But when you were in this system, it becomes the only way that you could truly survive. You would cling to a omphalos, a part of your simulation that doesn't bend, that doesn't move. And what would not move is you watching the collapse of this wave called now, which is probably best understood as looking at it like a seam inside of your internal simulation. It's just a seam. And that seam is like a Cylon. It's scanning the room back and forth. But what it's scanning isn't a room. It's scanning fucking time, right? Time. Yeah. And until you and I learn to move our camera off the roast beef slicer, that right now the camera is focused on the roast beef slicer, but there's actually other cameras, and we could switch to the above view, or we can switch to the roast beef view or whatever. But right now, this is all we see is that slice. And here's why. Because it makes us feel better. Because the causality that we can imagine from this basically it's a fucking bubble, isn't it? It's a bubble in the water that lets us see on one side, we see this on the other side. It would become the only thing that we would consider real, only because of its predictive nature. So we would start to notice, I'm sorry I'm talking so much, but think about how in pre-Rome, when if you got drunk, you didn't know that you're Bob, but you're just drunk right now, right? You don't know that. You're just this entity. And you're in Bacchus land. There's no time. There's none of that stuff. I want you to think about time as that you and I are in time the same way the Greeks was in Bacchus, the same way that he was lost in this animism, this animized consciousness, because he didn't have enough brain cells to separate himself from such a deep matrix that's so embedded inside of him that he's not able to separate from the animism of that. Now look at what fucking AI is doing. What all this extra imagination that we're leveraging is going to do. It'll pull us out of that motorcycle helmet. We'll be able to remove that motorcycle helmet, and holy fuck, there's a room here the whole time. That it's not just this visor anymore. That there's this whole other perspective. And I think we see that, and we're terrified of that, which is why you have an orthodoxy movement right now, right? Which is why you have people who are like, fucking AI is going to take our jobs. That's what that is. These guys are ripping time into the future, and they're terrified of it. They're terrified.
So do you think that Building 7, when the reporter said Building 7 was hit or whatever, went down before it happened, was a retrocausality? And then, like, the other thing I'm thinking is, like, quantum leaps. Like, I remember Jiffy peanut butter, and it's Jif peanut butter. It was never Jiffy. So all of these things that I have these memories of, Bernstein Bears. I used to remember reading that book to my daughter, and it's, like, not spelled Bernstein. It's spelled in a way that you wouldn't say Bernstein.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, so in my mind, I remember certain things. Everyone has like different memories of these things. A Mandela effect.
Yeah.
The Bible changes. The lamb and the lion, that one gets me every time, because who ever heard of the lamb lying down with a lion? I mean, see, now I'm confused which one it even is. It's with a wolf now and not the lion. So
if you, I'm not trying to explain this away, but I do love the idea of time resolution looking like Mandela effect. That we gained 4K vision, and now all of a sudden we're like, what are we gonna fucking call this pixel? And Brad's like, I don't know, fucking puce, and I'm like, I don't want to call it puce, Brad. I don't want to call it fucking puce.
Come on,
let's call it magenteel, right? Like not magenta, magenteel, and people are like, James, stop it! You have no business being here, and like that's what's happening, right?
James, how has working on your animation changed your view of time when you're working on your animated figures? Has that totally changed your view or your conception of time, because you're in time, you're having to work with time in the program, right?
Yeah. So visual creation, I have a very different relationship with than I do written creative work. Video work is I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I think most of the time I'm saying this is pointless. Why are we using our eyes? I can't tell you how many times I feel that way, because
the different mediums do apply differently, don't they?
It really do, and I'm not trying to diss that medium. It's just that I noticed that medium is for people that are not really looking to hear a vibration underneath. They want to drink those pixels so they can have their own vibrations based off of those things. And I think that when you understand why a man, just as an example, this happens all the time, but like why a man cannot help but look at a woman sometimes during what we would call inappropriate times, I think it has something to do with that. that there's the dopamine that is pulled from the retinas almost make it a non-art form, because it's almost too cheap to pull a response out of it. And it's kind of like a lot of signal. I mean, a lot of noise, but not as much signal. Sort of like primary colors to a child. And now you're, we'll say George O'Keeffe, because Lori's in the place. You're trying to explore the subtleties of peach, right? And you're in a world of, look, ketchup's red and fucking mustard's yellow. And that's it. That's fucking it, okay? Lettuce is green. Bread and hamburger are basically the same color, okay? Those are the same color. So stop it. This is it. We're done. And that's, a lot of people need that because they're in 1080p world, right? And hey, God bless them. I think you can imaginate more then. because you're
and
being
that's the
given
thing.
less, you know. Go ahead,
And
Laura.
that's the thing, like, for instance, the last thing I said on my column was love is the paradox at battle with time. And it's, I feel like the entropy that we experience in our world is love. Like, we can't really quantify this feeling. We can't really, it's at odds with time. And the reason that we stay in certain situations is out of, we in the new age movement we say it's attachment,
Mm-hmm.
but it's love. Attachment, we say attachment or love, it's almost synonymous. And you know, I've been an advocate for loyalty over love. Loyalty um is a tool for retrocausality, especially if you're loyal to one to yourself. It's the whole, you know, at the Oracle of Delphi, know yourself. If you're loyal, if you're more loyal than in love with something, you can be more truthful. You can time jump
Yeah.
more easily, because love is just a feeling. Like if s- if you agree with if you disagree with something and you're still loyal to it, I feel like you're in a more powerful state than if you're just there because of some sort of love or attachment. And I think that's why we're stuck in linear time, is because we're stuck to the things around us that we feel is love. And that's the reason. Another thing that I wrote about was the polyvagal theory. It's why we are in this time lapse and we want to see through our eyes things that are not real, because of the people that we say we love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it really comes down to how much you can love yourself, right? Because the more you love yourself, the less attached you become to the the perceived lack of love you've experienced, or the disappointment you've experienced in engaging in what you would say is like the linear time aspect. But the more you love yourself, the less attached you become in the linear aspect, and the more able you are to tap into just that love of self, that truly is what's radiating beyond time. And that's why we experience retrocausality with ourselves, is that we sometimes we don't even realize that what we're expressing is just our love for ourselves, but we're afraid that the world won't love us back, and so we can't see it in that moment. And sometimes upon reflection later on, we realized what we were expressing was just dying for love for ourselves, but we weren't bold enough to admit that and accept that and live in that, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
For
Yesenia,
instance, like
you spoke.
go ahead, go ahead.
Oh no, you spoke of attachments as Brad did, and attachments were the exact word I was thinking. That's the exact word I was thinking of when I chose to talk about sessile instantiations and the
Mm.
crystalline lurkers that you discussed, or that you mentioned. I wrote about that prowl behind the central facet. It's these attachments, and in the course of appellation, I'm discussing these germs that these words that I've spoken, and the way they come out and prowl on my death from behind my left. And those
Mm-hmm.
are the attachments that I'm trying to unfix with this retrocausal mindset that you speak of and that you're reaching with, Yesenia.
You know, it's just can I read the stanza to the
Please, yeah.
dojo? You wrote, just as alpha primitive and errant lips strung soft, silk lines to tie and bind the cosmos into a cunning immensity of captured crystalline lurkers who prowl behind every sinistral facet. I'm telling you, it grabbed
Beautiful.
me. And as I don't know if you were describing yourself or us as alpha primitive. It was just it tied into
Hey,
the whole retrocausality, because look at the time jump that humanity has made.
Yeah.
absolutely. When I speak of an alpha privative figure, I think of the first unknower or the first one to not know,
Yeah.
and what we are given.
That's where
Uh,
possibility opens up, and that's the idea of predictability, that safety that we all kind of find in is, right. We get in this state where we want predictability because it's safety, but we at some point, some of us start to understand it's like it's reaching that state of unknowingness and
Mm-hmm.
unpredictability that possibility arises, And that's kind of what's exciting to us, because on a subtle sense, I do think we all kind of deep down really do already kind of know, which is why I think this retrocausality works that way, is because there's this deep connection to, there is a deep connection, I think, to what is, whether we want to accept it or not. But that when we find the play in there, it's reaching that state of unknowingness and newness that we get to surprise ourselves. But we have to admit, at some level, that is a self-forgetting. And it's so sublime, because it's wild to think of it in that way, that it's like, how could I be experiencing this in linear time and have some connection to something that it already knows?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you're trying to kind of fight against when you're looking for novelty and when you're looking for what gets you excited. And so you do have to come in that childlike state to where it's like, this is magical. It's magical precisely because I've forgotten that I'm connected in this way to it. And if I all the way remembered that from the start, this wouldn't be magical. Do you know what I'm saying? If I knew that I already knew myself to that extent, I wouldn't play in this regard. It's finding myself in ways that I thought I couldn't.
Yeah.
That makes it fun.
There's a larger entity that's being formed when I combine you and Cameron, what you're both saying, because the very first cell that, if someone sits in the mercy seat and resets all cellular memory, then what would happen is that the universe would create itself inside of a singular nucleus in a cell that thought that there was no one out there. This is the birth of a universe. I swear to you, I'm not making this up. And that the nucleus of that cell is having to fantasize all these ion channels. And it's fucking hard. It's all you have is just 7 4 7 6 5 4 6 7 8 198 198 198 7 4 3 2 7, and this is all you fucking have, guys. I want you to picture that you're lost in the abyss of that's all you have. And they come in at different volumes, and they come in from different directions, and these sevens have different flavors, and you don't know shit. I just want you to picture you don't know shit. I want you to see how profound it is that you would smell another organism and say, this is me, and that's your mom. And what you're smelling is her fucking hallucination informing you. And that she's showing you how to fucking hallucinate. That when you hear 7 4 7 4 7 4, it means you're in trouble. It means that someone is yelling at you, and you're probably going to get in trouble. And that she only knows that because 70 trillion numbers ago, some other number that's not her, that's no one else, that smelled a certain way, stored the idea that, hey guys, I'm just going to say that 74747474 means John Jacob Jingleheimer shit, you better get over here, whatever. It's a scolding is defined, it's not discovered. A beauty is defined, it's not discovered. Now let's think about Chronos a second, just for a sec. Because you're suspended in an ocean of numbers. And there's this dish. There's a parabola dish that is far, far the fuck away. And that through all the other sounds that you hear, you are hearing this 8, 8, 8, 8, and it takes you trillions of smells and numbers before you even catch on. Hey guys, have you guys been hearing an 8 for like 16 trillion years in the background? And everyone else hasn't. No one's heard that. You're fucking imagining it. And that you, the first person who heard that sound, would have no choice but to name it. You would have to name it Chronos. You'd have to name it something. And it would be the only thing in your environment that actually doesn't fucking change. This invisible fucking 8 that just keeps coming. It gets a little bit softer. And then 13 years later, it gets a little bit louder. And it's got this red shift. You get so good at smelling sounds that you start to experience smell shift, where smells that are coming from you from one direction smell a different way than if they're leaving you from the other direction. You have Doppler smelling now, and we call that vision. And you're not seeing shit. I swear to fuck, you're not seeing a goddamn thing. You were listening to fucking numbers. And the only way you've made it this far is because you've been sucking on the teats of everyone's illusion who made up what the fuck these numbers mean before you came. This is why culture is absolutely the only fucking thing holding you together. The hallucinatory map is the only fucking thing that even tells you that you're an organism, that you are a collection of things that has an epidermis with fucking kneecaps that you can move. Can you not picture that there was a time when you had knees and you did not know that you could control them from your brain because they had an autonomous sense of me go over here, and your esophageal entity that strung itself along and tentacleized itself to your knees happened to drag your face along with it. And that's what happened. And that slowly over time, you just began to hallucinate the right numbers. And they never the right numbers. They're the numbers that fucking worked. They're the numbers that you built a society off of. They're the numbers that you looked at someone else and say, if you call yourself a 3 when the Bible says you're supposed to be a 4, you were looking at just how delicate this hallucination is. Like it's so important.
You know, now that you brought that up with the numbers, I've always thought that linear time is just us collectively counting forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all that we're ever fucking doing. And if we step away for just a moment and be ourselves, you know, you can feel that guilt of how dare you. It's like a weird. It's kind of like what was so. It's crazy because that's why I brought up Donnie Darko, because I saw it for the first time 3 weeks ago as I'm in this rabbit hole, which was very interesting that I wanted to see that movie for the first time. And I just remember the plasma that would like it would just eject out of everybody, especially at that party scene. Like it made me think of you, James, like our plasma of placebo. Even it's our own timeline, our own kairos leading us to different avenues if we choose. And every time that Donnie didn't want to, he would just go back and have to join fucking counting into the future with everybody else.
Yeah. See, that number has everything. If you were wandering around in the jungle and this Mayan priest with a fucking bone in his jaw tells you, hey man, 14,738. It doesn't mean much when he tells you that first, because you're going to dismiss it. You'll be like, I don't know what the fuck that is. But then you're going to go to another hut. There's another Mayan dude. He's got a bone, but it's through his nipple. You know, just because he's different. And he says the same fucking number. When this happens, you spooge. All of your cells get really excited because you're like, oh my God, I can park here. I can fucking park here. Watch what happens. If I go 10 trillion smells away and I ask this smell, hey, 648-441, it says 14,738. And then if I run back over here and I say, hey, 648-441, it fucking says 14,738. This is everything, because every single thing that all of your cells doing are looking for a jack, a kind of heroin that feels like this, a kind of drug that hits this epiphysis of, oh my God, I just predicted something in the numbers in the world. I predicted something. Here, watch, let's go check it again. And then you're like, here, come here. And you're like, come here, ready? Watch this. 647-241. Watch what he says. 14,738. You're like, did you see that? Did you see that? And this is how you build a family. This is how you get laid. You literally, if I come up and I'm like, hey, check this out. What is it? All of a sudden you're like, hey, let's freaking write this hallucination down through some whoopee. Let's write it down, right? That's what you're saying. You're saying this works. This is worthy of being fertile. This number is now not 14,738. Guess what? Now it's 14,739. Now imagine when you hit that, you see these numbers and you see 14 billion. And you don't even think in billions. Do you understand how crucial science is now? I'm not talking about the facts, guys. I'm talking about the illusion of facts.
Process.
The illusion that these numbers are real is strong because everyone repeats them. This is why science is about knowing. It's about what is known, because you could not build a foundation. I'm not dissing science. I'm literally telling you how fucking creative this is. Because if you do not have a collective hallucination that this many electrons, or what we call electrons, caught spinning in an orbit at this percentage, is going to be something that all of us are going to collectively agree is water. You can build anything. You've literally animatized, not atomatized, animatized the anatomy of the universe. Now has a name and everyone agrees. How would you ever be able to break this? Why would you even want to try and break this church? What I'm saying is you're going to pretend to vandalize it. You're going to go into the romper room in the church that's literally padded with balls, giant red balls that you're meant to throw at each other, and you're going to throw these balls at each other, and it's dodgeball, but you're going to say this is fucking war for reality, and it's not. It's not, because there's no fucking way that you would ever have what it takes. This is not an insult, to come back and doubt those numbers. Do you know what happens when you do? It's called schizophrenia.
Mm-hmm.
And those people
like
fall
science.
the fucking apart, right? They dissolve like Star Trek, right? That's like half phasing them out. That's what happens when you do that, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, science, it seems like it's just a euphemism for magic, and a prediction is really just a manifestation. We just want to wait and see if we count ourselves there. But ultimately, if we just have that, again, that loyalty is another word for action. I also feel like the truth movement has perverted that word for sheep, so to speak. And, that's a whole other conversation for another night ride. But the idea of counting to an outcome won't be it isn't necessary in the world of magic, but it's necessary in the world of science. And right now we do live in a world where the consensus wants science to lean on. It's Cain as it continues to count toward whatever outcome it wants.
Yeah. It's so magical that we are petrified thinking that it is us, and it's not us. It's literally, hey guys, we're going to start calling 468 468 468 this.
And then what they're really trying to do is just try to calculate certainty into a space that is complete uncertainty by design.
But certainty is
science,
there as long as enough people agree, right? That 46468 equals
though, right?
this. Yeah, yes.
Which is why you're trying to get people to agree with your consensus reality, is because you want them to agree with your certainty.
That's right.
But when you get comfortable with uncertainty, you can see through what they're trying to do with.
That's right.
Hammer down certainty.
Legos, right? And all of us are fighting because we want to be able to. I want to add a Lego. I don't care what. I just want to add it. I want a tower over here anyway. It's like, but the whole defense system depends on the tower being over here, and it's just like, yeah, that's.
But back to, could we put the tower on wheels so we don't have to take it down and reconstruct it from scratch every time?
Yeah.
But that's what I think people who get into science miss, in terms of the fact of understanding that the process that is science, which would be pure inquiry into what it is, they're just looking for certainty in a place where I'm sorry, you're not going to get certainty.
Yeah.
Because you're pretending that this is objective reality and haven't understood yet. The reason even retrocausality is even a thing is because subjective reality is a primordial. It's a component part of what we're doing here. It's what's happening. But we don't want to accept that. And so people who don't want to take responsibility for their objective sense and they're projected into it, they want certainty because they're not changing it. And on a fundamental level, we all are because of the subjective nature of it, but we don't want to admit that. So give me science to give me objective reality.
I posted this. Funny, this is 6 days ago. I have 118 laughs. I don't mean like scientists like to ridicule when they attack people. So a laugh in the science community typically means, ridicule.
Hey, by the way, I've met scientists who are very open-minded, and I respect them. It's funny how many people don't practice science, but adopt the rigidity of science to enforce their cosmology.
Funny how science isn't the study of what is true or what is wise or even what works. Science is the study of what is known. What people know is a belief in the lore of modern civilization. Literally, the word knowledge means lore. This is what science means. That's all I said. And the comments are, I don't even know how to begin to explain how wrong you are, so I'm not. That's Trevor.
I know.
Way to go, Trevor. That's a good one. A big note there, James. Blah, blah, blah. I believe your hat may be on too tight. Hope this helps. Picture of tinfoil hat. Contrary to your facile argument, here is a definition from the UK Science Council. I quote here, science is the pursuit and application of knowledge, which, again, this is what I said, right? An understanding of the natural and social world by a systemic methodology based on evidence, which, by the way, the word evidence is not in the word science at all. Not at all.
Right.
It's not even once implied. I could go on here. Physics was true before you came in and tried to say it wasn't. Or James, literally, no, dude. Palm to face. Moments before this pope was made. Here's a picture of me smoking crack. It goes on.
I think it's evidence of this time lapse, this continuous time lapse that Yesenia brings up, that we continue to go through these cycles, both of like a move from where Pyrrho has to create skepticism or asceticism in order to get past stoicism and Epicureanism, where they were just things that were known that you could not question, and they were metaphysical, things that we said we knowed about the concealing appearances of nature. Wow. And people had to live by those, and so you need someone like Pyrrho to come up, or Sextus Empiricus, who was the scribe who wrote down his words. In that name, we derive our empirical process from his scrutinizing skepticism. Mm-hmm. And yet we still continue to fall into these dogmas over time.
Yeah, and I think this is how we get out of time.
Realize where we come from.
The same way we got out of fiction and developed something called nonfiction, we'll be able to get out of time and develop something non-time. Mm-hmm. And the hypothetical is that. Silicon is that. The informational capacity of silicon is that. It's not a consciousness, but it's an informational eternity. It's a very special kind of a thing. It's not just silicon, but it's
just the idea of what you're talking about, James, have been able, the ability to program something that could record and reflect back us to ourselves over time, that we could witness if we wanted to, and actually see objectively as much as possible ourselves over time. Mm-hmm. And to understand that that when we're not defensive of that position, right? Like when we're not afraid to see ourselves, how much we could expand our understanding of ourselves in terms of how we're interacting and how we're with Chronos, basically, right? How we are interacting with ourselves through this complex of time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy because I've always thought that like physicists are like the most open-minded scientists, if we can say that, and they're like the unemployment line of the science world. Like no one really pays attention unless, you know, you have a knack for that. And that's why the major consensus is so fucked, in my opinion, because we don't ever want to look at, for instance, like Project CERN, or we don't ever want to have a forum about the quantum computer that Google just discovered. We just want to listen to the nurse that's in Crocs Googling WebMD while she's trying to inoculate you.
Right.
And that's the issue. It's we that's the thing. We're loyal to a system or a set of people that we think we love and loves us, and is doing stuff out of just out of their heart, so to speak, or out of the will of love. But
Mhm.
are they really, or are they doing it out of fear and just color coding their fear with the sprinkles and the bullshit fake fairy dust that they think is love?
And
And
that's
that's
the
that's
thing.
that's why time. I'm sorry, Brad. That's why
No,
time
go,
for
go.
me and the retrocausality is a very revolutionary, and like it was like a bell, like a symbol that totally shook me from inside and out, because I can see that if I just maintain this loyalty to what it is that I keep magnetically pulling towards me, that I'm fucking scared of because it's so unknown and it's so mysterious, I can keep moving forward. I can keep growing. My spine can stay narrow and straight, and I don't have to worry about what's in the future. But I could go back and give a kiss, like I said, give a kiss to my forehead of my younger self, even the Yessie that existed yesterday, and tell her it's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
And the more powerful I think in and of ourselves we get to the point where we can, that's why our personal ability to do that with ourselves is so powerful, and our ability to maintain that posture and handle it is because the more we can do exactly what you're talking about, Yuseni, and like kiss ourselves yesterday and be like, it's okay, the more free we are to continue to move forward in what we're doing
Yeah.
and what we see.
Yeah, I think that's why it's really helpful to compassionate science for what it is, not to ridicule and not to poke at it. It's the mean, right? It's the mean collective.
Mm-hmm.
People are mean. Like literally. They're going to show you the mean, and that mean is right because the mean has power, because that's a variable that people need to declare themselves normal or sane or whatever, you know. But if you I leave a lot. I picture, what is it like to be conscious of this entire organism? One thing will be required is she would have to claim me. Gaia would have to claim me in order to say that I'm a part of her organism. So before Gaia could see through my eyes, she would have to consider me herself. This is how she joins my network and becomes telepathic with me, the same way I do that with my spleen. So I'm picturing that Gaia owns me, and she has such a powerful nucleus that I feel the power of gravity pulling me towards what owns me. So I jump as high as I can, and she wants me back. I throw rockets into the air, spit them as far as I can, and she wants them back. She wants them back because this is her. The same way you pull all the skin cells that breach. You're constantly having an electrical field that's pulling those back into you, saying, no, where are you going? Where are you going? And that collectively, the deeper you go into the earth, the core of your skin, you don't even have that problem anymore, that everything's just nice and tidy, right? So when I picture this, it means that Gaia, in order for Gaia to see through me, she would have to feel that she owns me. Therefore, Gaia owns me. And that I am just the consciousness of one of the eyeballs. I'm just one conscious eyeball. And I just start to track how often Gaia would see the world through me. And the answer is not very high. When I picture where Gaia is looking, I'll be straight up with you. I think she's in Africa, like all the time. I just do. I think that there's something when I picture what it would be like to sense the world, right? I picture all the plants, all the landscape, all the plants with kneecaps. What would the world look like in the desert, which is beautiful? What would the world look like in Appalachia? What would it look like out of the eyes of a cat that's in this apartment complex in New York City? And then what would the whole city feel like to experience? And then what would the whole landscape feel like to experience? And I just keep going. I always go back to Africa. I can't help it. I would pick. I'm not saying that she's all there, but I'm just saying that I think I would hang out there a lot. Like if I was Gaia and I was like having to focus, all of us have a phobia. All of us have a collective place in our retina that collects more light than the others, and that we hallucinate the colors in that spot because we want to look at it more. And maybe Gaia does that too. And maybe that's just what Africa is. The stuff that's in Africa is just fucking amazing. Like it really is amazing. And it's almost like the rest of the world is kind of tamer. I don't mean this disrespectfully. I don't mean that at all. But it's just like you can kind of picture the giant turtle and what they would see. You can do this with other animals, You can get to know an animal. You can picture how limbically afraid it feels. I pull out a butcher knife because there's a deer in my backyard, but I'm pulling out the butcher knife to cut an apple. And the deer is like, oh my God, I'm so alive right now. I don't know what you're going to do. Holy fuck. You've got like one of the greatest things I love, and you're holding a fucking knife. And I have all this epigenetic memory, right, of this object that I don't know is a knife. I just call it 146148. And all I know is when you see that, you run like fuck. You run as fast as you can. And I don't know where that came from. It's just a feeling I have. But meanwhile, the fucker's got an apple in his hand. There's something about this guy. I want this apple. I'm going to stay. And that's on the brink of the most exciting river you could be at for a deer, wouldn't it? Like ultimately, right. This is the tension of, I like it here. This is the best place to be. I have all that I need right here. And so I try and think about Gaia that way, if it makes sense. That Gaia would be so starving that she would find the deepest, richest, most orca-like. I see a lot of orca, by the way, in Gaia. But like, what's the most orca-like land place to experience? And I'm a rhino, I'm a giraffe, I'm a lion, I'm a hyena, I'm a tombo, I'm all the local people in Africa. I'm that whole thing all at once, and it looks amazing. Like I go there all the time, and I'm just like, this place is fucking lit as fuck. And you're just listening to the sounds, smelling the eucalyptus. I've never even been there, guys. But it's like, I can picture how amazing that would be.
Because on a level, it's more connected it's less connected to pretense, right? The more you get into civilized society, we all know, the more you connect into pretense. And the idea of Africa is it's more raw. It's more primally connected to the nature of it.
Yeah, I think more things are allowed to make noise there. You know what I mean? Like more emotions are allowed to make noise. I know I'm romanticizing it. I think this is true everywhere. I don't even like saying it's just in Africa.
It, baby.
But I'm just saying that when you think about Gaia, when you think about something as large as that, we have our Africa here. I think about the life of the mouse that's in my house. It's perspective, right? Versus the deer, versus the groundhog, versus me, versus the guy that's next door to me. And listening to him, he was like, it's time for Thursday night football or something like odd. I was like, I didn't know that there was like a Tuesday night football or something. Or it was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. And here's a guy that's like, not only is that a thing because the TV said it's a thing, but he's loving it. Like, there's no power to him. But it's like, I can hear him up there and he's like, and you know how it is with Tuesday night football. Like everyone's supposed to know what that even means. And I'm just like, yeah, listen to him. He's probably like, are these fermented hops the right amount of hops? Or are they less than what should be the hops in this fermented juice, or more hops? And that is the deer between the apple and the butcher knife. There's life there. It's a fractal, isn't it? Science is a fucking fractal of wisdom. And the ridicule that you see is the glue that's holding the whole thing together. And I don't want to call it a facade because it's too important. It's too important. A spider web is technically a facade. And it's the only universe that spider touches most of its life, right? So we have to fundamentally, we don't have to, but fundamentally we will be unpeeling our language. I was picturing this today. I was thinking, wow, I could picture how we would say 37 divided by 4 is not the right way to say something. We should be saying math floor 37 divided by 4 minus 37 equals grid 3. Now I know you guys are like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it's like, I swear I just said something profound. I just said something really profound about how to compute a grid no matter how many numbers there are. And I did it in a sentence. I didn't do it in like, well, here's the equation. I literally said wisdom, didn't I? I literally conveyed, you have to believe me, but I literally conveyed to you the wisdom of the grid through 7 words.
This was another way to encode the knowledge, right?
Yeah. So the just like we smell numbers, we smell numbers. It's the same thing, Brad. It's the same thing. And the only reason why you like that grid equation is because if you run over here and you try it at here, what I just said is true also. So it's a kind of berry. It's a kind of a resource, a kind of cinnamon in the world of number smells. That's what wisdom is. It's a kind of partial fruit.
Sorry. What are your thoughts on Pangea? Because as you keep mentioning Africa and how special it is, I remember, I recall, being taught about Pangea and how we were all one, even in land. Is that like a metaphor for God, or?
Well, there's all kinds of cool things to think about it. If I come back to this cellular hallucination, let's say that Lucifer sits in the seat and says, I got to forget because I know too much and I feel paralyzed. I'm paralyzed in time because I know too much. There's no mystery and I'm suffocating. Boom. And he destroys it all. Now you're a cell. You're not aware that there's a cell right next to you. So you're not coupled into a hallucination. You're fucked. You have no idea what you are. But you're growing the entire time. So you don't know who you are, but you're growing. You're literally growing, but you don't have a way of tracking that you're growing because you don't know of anything outside of yourself. So you have no idea that you're growing. What's happening is your cosmos is expanding. What's happening is that the space inside of you is expanding. That's the only thing you know. This is the only thing that you know, that you're getting larger. There's no other abstract alter way of knowing this. And if it wasn't for your ability to be so smart to track redshift, you would not even know that you're expanding. All you'd notice is, hey, there's a buttload more atoms than there were yesterday. That's what you call them. You would just call it that. And every day you'd notice there's more atoms, but you can't count the atoms. So you've never noticed. You've never noticed once. Instead, you're watching a cell get larger. But you're not outside the cell. You're not outside of it. You're inside of it. This is Pangea. This is the first birth of Pangea.
Wow.
And that as Pangea grows, the cell becomes a 16-celled organism, because that's literally what happens. And what truly happens is that it starts to couple with its neighbor, and they say, let's hallucinate together. This is after it splits, the mitosis, the meiosis. You're inside your universe, and all of a sudden it splits into 2, but you don't see it splitting into 2. What you see, because you're not outside of yourself, is that you now have invented the fucking number 2, Yesenia. You fucking invented the number 2.
Yep.
And you only know you invented the number 2 because you're now hallucinating 2 things at the same time. And you're like, how the fuck am I hallucinating 2 things at the same time? And then before you can answer, you hear, how the fuck am I hallucinating 2 things at the same time? And then you're like, who said that? And you don't know because you can't step outside of yourself. But now that's just 2. Now you've turned into 16. You're I think it's called a medulla or a medulla. It's like this cranberry word for like a baby, a zygote that's a 16-celled organism. This is the zodiac. The oldest thing you know is the zodiac, and it's 16 spherical cells that are merged into each other that understand each other, and the only thing that they understand about each other is relation. It's the only thing. All I know is that I'm between Taurus and Leo. That's all I know. Sorry, I don't know what that is. But it's like, that's all I know is that I'm between these two signs. That's all I know.
It's funny you say that. I don't know that either. I don't know anything about
Or I'm
astrology.
across from Scorpio. I know that. I know that I'm across from Scorpio, which means that my association is only built on this cellular memory that I'm not something else. This is huge, Yesenia. This is fucking huge. You've developed the ability to imagine that you're not something else. This is, oh my God, what did you just do? What are you smoking in here? And you're like, I don't know, dude, but check it out. And then you're giving yourself a joint going, I don't know, dude, but smoke this. And then you're doing it. And you're like, oh, I'm not myself. And the other one's like, I know. And it's like, okay, that's really weird.
Is that why recreation is supposed to be fun? Because you're recreating something that maybe you were playing
there you go.
ball as a child?
Yeah. So if you keep playing like this, your Gaia has no choice but to expand because you've grown. And because you've grown, you need to create new regions just so you can classify things. If you can't classify something, you don't even know it's there. I don't think we understand how crucial this is, the naming of things. This is my toe. This is my only toe. It's important to me. There are no others like it. And then you're like, oh shit, I have another toe. Look at that. It's a reverse image of this toe. It looks just like the toe, but it's not the toe. And that this is the only way that you've declared yourself as an organism. And what's happening? The cells in your toes are like, hey man, I'm kind of happy about being taken over. I kind of like this. I've got, first of all, some guys like cutting my nails. That's pretty nice. I mean, there's all kinds. So you see how symbiotic that is. So the toe cells have information for you because they want to be loved. They want to be accepted in the world, don't they? So they're giving out the information of, hey guys, you can walk all over me. Fuck, I don't care. We can fucking stab people, sort of. I can do things. Hey, I can paint. If you cut my arms off, I can fucking paint with these things. But you have to cut my arms off because no one's gonna paint with their toes. Apparently, everyone's like, oh, you could easily paint with your toes, and I'm like, well, why the fuck isn't anyone else doing it, Tony? That's all I'm saying. You're the only one here, and you have no arms. I think these are related. Sorry, I don't know what just happened.
Has anyone heard of the shadow language?
What is the
it?
shadow language? Tell us.
It's just something I've recently learned about. It's I was watching another channel, so I should probably give a comment about that. It was on Susquehanna Alchemy. He was talking about how the shadow language is, and I'm just going to read a quote here, is an all-encompassing term that referring to a mode of communication that includes the twilight language, the green language, and the language of the birds. But at its foundational level, it's communication with life and the mystery of God itself. And so he goes on to explain that the shadow language is very much familiar to people that see things kind of the opposite of the void. And this is something similar to like synchromysticism. So then this leads to this concept, like the twilight language was based on, Vajrayana Buddhism and Hinduism, these type of things. But this is clever because my own life experiences, I've had a lot of this, what seems to be the shadow language. And I've had a lot of that sort of synchromistic experience throughout my life. To the point where I could write a book about it. But I've had a lot of experiences where people on the twilight language seem to be gaslighting me. They seem to be mocking me or, pushing me. But I think it's actually has to do something more about how they see the world and how they manifest the world, because the twilight language as itself is a type of, casting out or a projective, and the shadow language is a reflective. So I think that this actually led to conflict in my own life through people I know and it's actually interesting because very few people have had the introspect to get to that level. But to be honest, it seems like there's these some of the oldest languages in the is projection and reflection, and there's various caveats that have broken apart from this. And anyway, the shadow language to me is a new concept because, like he writes here, the twilight language crosses every boundary of modern popular culture, and it seems to be mocking and gaslighting the sleepwalkers of the shadow language with in-your-face coincidence while denying the coincidences exist. So it's this feeling that I feel like the ebb and flow, we're actually creating that scalar wave, the moon and the sun.
Yeah.
Anyway, just thought I'd throw that in there.
Well, thank you for sharing with us. But my question is, what if when, we feel mocked, that's our call to action to a new timeline? All the timelines are happening at once, and so to speak, in this retrocausality, and you can choose when and where to be.
Yes, absolutely. I feel that this is a hyperdimensional concept that you could, think of the Jungian principle of just the tribal drumming and, shifting from one place to another. But I feel like what this is interesting, like kind of saying, is that just his perspective here went over Burning Man and how there's like a kind of like this shadow language synchronistically, like you could study it and you could make this argument that it was all planned out by these, Luciferian elitists or the Illuminati or something, right? Like these, you can make this stuff up. But at the same time, it seems like it's the observer and observed relationship of reality itself. And so this is the synchronistic principle that I'm seeing kind of manifest. It's funny because it's just like James kind of knew something was going to happen at Burning Man. And it's like people know these things innately, just like the Donnie Darko thing or the, many other things I've seen. It's just, it happens time and time again. And it seems like gaslighting to the other side with this shadow principle. And I just thought it was clever because I've never heard anything about it before.
You're referring to the guy that got killed at Burning Man?
Yeah, but there was a birth at the first birth at Burning Man.
Yeah, there was a birth at the beginning and a death at the end or something like that.
It's like the eyes to see and the ears to hear, and it's like we can all hear the same thing and people can take different things from it. And that's the powerful aspect of when something happens at Burning Man, it's like so many people can take different things from it.
Yeah.
And like understand that.
Yeah, they're looking for something to pull from it, especially a giant wooden effigy being burned. Representing loss.
Clearly, the argument could be
the
made.
Wicker Man.
Yep.
I'll give you another example. Like, I kind of relived my youth, and about a month ago, my brother took me to a concert. We went to this band. It's a rock band. It's 9 Inch Nails. I don't really gravitate to that music per se, but I see the music as the artist, the N-I backwards N, was a reflection to his own future. If you actually analyze his music, it's like he knew his own quantum demise, and he's placating that through his whole life.
When you can watch another artist's aspect of that in that regard, I think that's so powerful to understand that they're human and to tap into what they're expressing on that level instead of on the capacity of like, look at this artist who's expressing this thing that's otherworldly and understanding it's not otherworldly.
He's hyperdimensional. He's particle wave simultaneous, right? He's the observer, observed. He's living it. He's observing it. And then we do it too. Like this is where,
But when you go to a concert, that's like imagine like a big blob of placebo coming upwards from a crowd. And I enjoy 9 Inch Nails. Trent Reznor, he's a composer. He's like worshipped in the soundtrack. He's done soundtrack for movies. Almost every rockhead is in love with Trent Reznor, especially here in Colorado. Like everybody loves 9 Inch Nails. But
But like you
to
said,
be
the placebo
to be in
they're
that
able to
concert.
create.
Yeah, you're gonna
Yeah.
feel it. I don't know if y'all been to a concert in the last year. Like you're gonna feel like I went to a concert about 6 months ago and I felt the draining of my energy. Like you have to consciously call it back while you're there. Like you could easily be like, oh, look at her, she's covering her eye, so that means she's evil, and I'm
Yeah.
dead, and
I would
you could
say to
tell
you
yourself
that,
that story. That in itself is a language.
of course, and I would say to you that, a lot of people though, that go to, any of these events aren't capable of understanding the shadow. Like I would say the average consumer isn't enjoying that depth, that level. I mean, I'll give you an example. My own friend passed away, okay? And when he passed, he left behind this cryptic, like this cryptic library of information that you just can't, happenstancely come across. It's actually very cryptic, and it speaks volumes of someone who was kind of destined for that shadow principle, and his whole life was kind of like an enigma. He was living on the periphery of being, and therefore he became the most hyper kind of the most unique person I've ever really met, to be honest. He passed away really young, but also a developer, very famous. But the point is, the guy he blew me away, but at the same time, he was very, he had his ups and downs. I would just say to you that when you think about it today, a lot of people don't see how important it is to stay true to themselves. And I forget what I was saying with this, but
Yeah, but I think that, and the thing is, it's like they miss the connection to just being themselves and being human, because in those regards, it always tends to feed an egregore that's bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm going to
Like that's what.
sign us out, guys. You guys can keep going if you want, but we gotta land this thing. Appreciate you guys so much. Seriously, thank you. Thanks for riding the friendly skies. Join the show. Go check us out on Patreon. Have a good night.